Hey everyone, Nick here again, back to talk about The Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 15, Something They Need. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. This was my favorite episode of 7B so far. And one of my favorite episodes of the whole season. This was a great episode. There was actually a lot going on. So I'll just get right into what was going on. And, first of all, almost the entire cast was present, which hardly ever happens anymore. Seriously, like the only main characters that weren't in this episode were Carol and Morgan, and Ezekiel, I guess. You know, he's not technically a main character, but he's a big deal. But still, they were the only people that weren't in this episode. There was a lot going on. There was Maggie dealing with Gregory at the hilltop, and the fact that she's a better leader. Well, him dealing with the fact that she's a better leader. She's not really dealing with that. She's okay with it. She's quite content, in fact. And there was, of course, Rick going to Oceanside with a lot of people, like almost too many people. Like there were some red shirts there that seemed like red shirts, but surprisingly, they didn't lose anybody. And then there was stuff going on at the Sanctuary. I'm going to start with the Sanctuary because, for me, that was those were the best parts of the episode. Just Sasha has been captured, and she's being held in the cell that was formerly Daryl's home. And one of the saviors by the name of David comes in and tries to rape her, but then Negan shows up and saves her life, because that's against the rules of the Sanctuary. So, bashing people's skulls in with a baseball bat covered in barbed wire, that's all okay, but don't rape anybody. Yeah, okay. There's probably another video on that subject somewhere, so I'll just leave that alone for now. All of the scenes with Sasha this episode were amazing. Like, that scene where David was trying to rape her, that was such an intense moment. I mean, like, yeah, I read the comics. I knew exactly what was going to happen. It did go almost exactly the same way. The only difference is that it happened to a different person in the comics. But, yeah, it was basically the same scene. Like, even the rapist was still named David. And then, of course, Negan does not appreciate David violating the rules and kills him. And, you know, on the surface, it does seem a little hypocritical. Like, Negan has killed a lot of people that we care about, but he draws the line here. But, like, hearing Negan's reasoning, it makes sense. And, I mean, as always, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was just amazing to watch. Like, Negan just had the best lines of this episode. He always has awesome dialogue. He's always played well. I cannot gush enough about Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. I really cannot. Like, he's obviously super evil, but you can't help but love him. And that's the mark of a great character right there. But they were not the only ones that were standouts in the scenes at the Sanctuary. Eugene was he's still there, obviously, and he got to interact with Sasha a couple of times. And, I mean, I was positive. In fact, I'm still leaning towards this, but I was 100% positive that Eugene was just playing an angle. Like, maybe he just drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid, but he wouldn't go full Darth Eugene. This episode, it looks like he is at the very least, like, jump roping with the line between the light side and the dark side. I mean, he does seem to be enjoying it almost a little too much. And I can't shake the thought that maybe they are going to go in a completely different direction than the comics, and they are actually going to have Eugene formally join the Saviors. Like, he's going to join the fight against Rick and his people. I mean, like, that's not what I think will happen, But like that's also not a 0% chance for me anymore. Like there's still a chance that they could go that route. And, you know, that's why I like it. Like, you can't keep the show a direct replica of the comics. So you do gotta change stuff up. Although, that would be a pretty big change up. So, I don't think they're gonna go in that route, but, I mean, I'm definitely interested to see where this whole story arc with Eugene goes. And just the scenes where Sasha and Eugene were interacting with each other, because we haven't really gotten to see them interact with each other too much over the years. Like, they've always just kind of been there together. Like, the only time I can really remember them even talking to each other was when they were in the Season 5 premiere, when they were locked in the train car at Terminus, and Sasha started grilling Eugene for answers about the cure, the alleged cure. And other than that, I don't think they've had any significant interaction with each other. But, you know, they have been in the same group as each other. So, like, they've been surviving together, so it's not like they're total strangers to each other. Like those scenes had meaning where they were interacting with each other, like they were, and they even kind of acknowledged, at least alluded to the fact that they haven't really been super close. Like they've been together, they've been surviving together. But yeah, that was just really nice. It was just two old friends catching up in a really awkward way. And, you know, Eugene did show that he's still, like, looking out for her, in a way. Like, he did want to grant her request to commit suicide, even though I could tell by the look on her face that she is not planning to commit suicide. She wanted a weapon, but obviously pills are not a very good weapon. So yeah, just everything that went down in the Sanctuary was just very well done, and I really loved all of it. But the rest of the episode was awesome too. We got to return to Oceanside. I mean, that episode, Season 6 of this season, that was, you know, not the most loved episode. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was okay, but, like, if I had to pick a least favorite episode of the season so far, I'd probably go with that one. But still, I did like the idea behind Oceanside, and I did think that there was still potential there for them to be useful in some way. So they made their way in Oceanside, and Tara got her most awesome moments ever on the show. Like, she's just waiting in Natanya's house, and she's just waiting for her to show up and just hold her at gunpoint. That was awesome. I mean, that was like something out of a Taken movie. But, like, Natanya is adamantly against fighting the Saviors because of how much they've lost. And, like, yeah, it's kind of a problem for the main group that she's so against it, but her objections make sense, you know? She lost her daughter, her grandson. Everyone else there lost everybody. They killed all the men and all the boys over the age of 10. And then some of the women that they didn't execute tried to fight back, and then they died too. So yeah, like, they've lost a lot. So I understand why she doesn't want to go to war with the Saviors. But it does seem like the rest of them are on board. At least most of them are, so there's that. And the way Rick handled that whole situation, like, Rick is back, finally. We haven't gotten to see Rick be too awesome this season. He hasn't had a lot of, yeah, like, you're the man moments. But he got some of those moments tonight. Like, he and all of his people rounded up all of the Oceanside people. They didn't shoot or even hurt anybody. Like, the only one who got hurt was Natanya, and that was her own granddaughter that did it to her. It wasn't anyone in Rick's group. And, like, just seeing Rick standing over them, saying, what you got is what we need. Like, in a way, it was kind of like Negan. Like, you're going to give us everything that you have, or half of everything that you have. And, like, okay, Rick is starting to look a little bit like Negan, and that is exactly what they need. They need a Negan to go up against Negan. So, like, cool, tough leader Rick, he is back. And I could not be happier about that. And of course, at the very end, we get confirmation that the shadowy, long-haired figure wielding a crossbow at the end of last week's episode was, in fact, Dwight. Rosita brought him back to Alexandria and smartly locked him up in the cell, the prison cell that Morgan made, but has not been used yet for some reason. And you know what? Dwight being there, that's the kick that this story arc has been needing. Dwight going full Benedict Arnold on Negan. Ben a Dwight Arnold? Anyway. Like, that's been the real kick we've needed to get things moving forward. Because the season has had a slower pace than usual, and slower than a lot of people probably would like. But, like, this episode makes the pace work. Like, it is moving at the perfect pace. It is a little faster than it has been lately, but overall it's still in line with the general slower pace of this season. But this episode makes it work. It makes the most of it. It has a lot of really good, awesome moments. Like, before I mentioned, it's fine to have good small moments, but you also got to have good big moments. And this episode had a pretty good balance of both. Like, seeing Rick and his group and the Oceanside group fight all the Pirates of the Caribbean looking walkers, who looked amazing, by the way. Seeing them all fight all those walkers in the woods together, like, that was a really awesome moment. And then, you compare it to a smaller moment like Eugene agreeing to help Sasha commit suicide, even though that wasn't actually her plan. Like, that was a really nice small moment. And it was just nice to see that this season has a little bit of that balance again. At least this half of the season is finally getting some of that balance back. So, with Dwight turning on Negan, or vowing to turn on Negan, we still don't know for sure. Again, like, I know what happens in the comics, but that doesn't mean it's gonna go the same way on the show. But yeah, this episode, I loved it. I loved every second. This is my favorite episode of the second half of the season so far. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I loved it. It was a great episode. And I think that the finale is going to be something great. I believe in it. I know I've been saying that a lot. Like, oh, the next episode's going to be amazing. Next episode's going to be amazing. Well, I'm pretty sure that after last week's review, I said that this week's episode was going to be amazing, and it was. So, I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling about this one. This finale is, at the very least, this year's finale is going to be better than last year's finale. Of course, that's not a very high bar to reach. So yeah, that'll do it for my review, and I'll see you next time.